My name is Brother Robert Muhammad. I am the student minister of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan here in the city of Wilmington, state of Delaware, Mosque number 35. I have been in the Nation of Islam for approximately 28 years. I've been following the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. My little background, if you will, I grew up as a service brat. My father was an Air Force air mechanic. He worked on airplanes. We traveled Germany, Italy, Florida, and Japan were the places that we traveled, me and my two sisters. I can remember vividly the time that we spent in Japan. It was a wonderful moment in my life, even though I was a young child. We had the pleasure of living on base, learning the Japanese customs and culture and whatnot. And my mother and father hired a Japanese, what they call mama-san. She was what you call a maid. At that particular time in Japan, on the Air Force bases, they allowed the mama-sans, the older Japanese women, to come on base to seek employment because, as you know, when America bombed Nagasaki and Hiroshima, it destroyed. So part of the treaty, which would be in order for the women to gain employment, they would allow them to come on base. And so we were blessed with a Japanese maid by the name of Terry. My mother said, call her Terry. And such a wonderful experience, you know. So what happened, we spent about 4 years there, came back to the States, and ended up our time in Florida, Homestead Air Force Base, Florida. We had an opportunity to come back either to my father's home state town, Birmingham, Alabama, or Atlantic City, New Jersey. And me and my sisters decided we're going to go up north because we knew about the South. And so we came, Atlantic City, New Jersey, and God blessed me to be a good athlete in all three sports, football, basketball, and baseball. And I played the sport very, very well. Now looking back at it, should have stayed with baseball. I probably would have played major leagues, brother. But so I played, football and basketball and went to school at Bowling Green State University. Didn't stay, came back home, had to pay, I had to get a job. My mother passed when I was a senior in high school, God had blessed me to become very popular in high school, and it was the first time that they ever allowed students to leave the school to pay homage to someone in their family, and they would not hold it against their record or whatnot. So we had about 600 people at my mother's funeral, which I thank the authorities at Pleasantville High School for allowing that to happen. So my mother passed when I was a senior in high school, so I went to college, came back after my basketball thing flopped, and then I had to start seeking employment in the casinos, and that's when I came in contact with the Nation of Islam. From then on, I became a student in the classroom of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan under the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So in short, that is the way that I was introduced to the Nation of Islam, because I grew up in, like most black people, I did not have a connection, or I wouldn't say a connection to black history, because in school we're not really taught that. I did not have I did not know Black Power. I never was introduced to Malcolm. I never knew the name Elijah Muhammad Farrakhan or anything like that. I grew up on base, and I was privileged with a childhood that maybe most of our brothers and sisters were not privy to. I enjoyed Christmases. I enjoyed the finer things in life, if you will. And I did not grow up among black people per se until I was like a teenager. Then I got the experience of living among my people. And that wasn't a pleasurable experience because, you're always being tested. And so, when I was introduced to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it fascinated me. And I became a student of this great teaching. And looking back at it now, my mother had had always instilled in me love for black people. When I was little, she would always, put in me love for black people, love for black women, love for black people, and not trusting the man and stuff like that. I never would get that from my father. I would get that from my mother. And so when I heard the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it seems as though my mother was preparing me for something and was telling me something that I would eventually run into. And so when I became a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I thanked my mother in absentia now because it's because of what she had put in me, and now it was coming about that I'm running into what she put into me. So, and that this has been my now tenure in the Nation of Islam since 82, 83, from Atlantic City, and the Minister Farrakhan blessed me to be the minister there in Atlantic City, Mosque number 10. We invited him there twice. He came to Atlantic City. Then I went from Atlantic City to South Philly, where I became a helper to Brother Rodney, the student minister that's in Philadelphia right now. And then the minister moved me here to Wilmington, Delaware. So in short, that has been, I guess, my little tenure, if you will. And so now I'm here where we started off. It was maybe a few people here, 4 or 5 people. Brother Lamont, maybe 4 or 5 people. Brother Lamont was one of the first ones here, and Allah blessed us to build the mosque, which you see right now. So here we are, here in Wilmington, trying to make things happen for our people, and getting the word of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan out to our people and to humanity in general, to let them know about the time and what must be done.
Do you think more drugs flow into the urban community more so than the white areas, or is it just a different drug?
I think, well, there's more. I guess they say like the crack cocaine obviously is more proportion to the urban America, even though Caucasian people use it at an unprecedented number, but it's just not reported. One time I smoked marijuana. I did not know how in the world that I was going to get rid of smoking the marijuana. But after the Honorable Minister Farrakhan had taught me the proper use of myself, I had the strength then to overcome, that demon, and when I overcame it, and I found out, wow, man, that this thing is, this thing had a grip on me. But what did he do? He taught me about the God within, and by teaching me about the God within, and again, my relationships with the Lord of the worlds, I was like, man, this is a temple. What the heck am I doing defiling the temple of God? You see? And so again, how you defeat and overcome the enemy of God is that you give people the knowledge of God, see, which is akin to the knowledge of self, you see? And like the Bible says, ye are all God's children of the Most High God. And when you teach people or children that, see, then you can put drugs, like you could put drugs in front of me all day and all night. I'm not going there because I've been taught to love me, You see, and this is what human beings, brother, have failed to do. And because the society is being ruled and run by Satan, they want a way out. But the way out that Satan has for them is the liquor, is the drugs, is sex. See, and so when human beings are not afforded the opportunity to know, you know, knowing is a human it's a need, and it's a human right. And whenever human beings do not know and what they should know, then they seek what is called, pleasure. You know, but this is not pleasure, brother. This is the manipulation of oneself. Whenever you are using drugs, you manipulate the pain. That's what drugs do. Is nothing but the manipulation of the pain. But real pleasure, brother, is manifesting that which is in your mind and heart. And what you see it in your mind and in your heart, and then bringing it about, that is the greatest pleasure. That is the greatest high that one could have. People today are more involved with pleasure. See, this is what Satan does. There's a saying that the dragon had in the book of Revelations. He spewed out, he used his tail to bring down 3/4 of the stars of heaven. The tail represents the lower extremity of the dragon, which that he in the last days that Satan would use the desires and the sexual appetite of the human being in order to bring them down. And so when you look at people out here today, how our women dress, you know, the sex that you see on TV, what you see on the internet, you got people so sexed up and so crazy, but they want pleasure, but they don't want responsibility. There was a Caucasian scholar that said that the message and the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad done with no other social programs, no other, NA program. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was able to take the black man off liquor, was able to take the black man off drugs, able to take the black man off of the needle and all of that. He didn't use no abracadabra. He just taught them the knowledge of themselves. And this is really what the human being is really seeking, is their connection to their God. And this is the way that God has placed the Honorable Minister Farrakhan to give human beings that connection again. This is why messengers and prophets come, to reconnect the human being back to God, you know. So all of these other things that interfere with their relationship with God would be done away with that proper connection. The preacher has it, but is he willing to give it to the congregation so they may give it to their children? We believe that God did visit America. And when you read Deuteronomy 18:18, that God would raise up like unto thee, Moses, that as it was in the day of Moses, so shall it be in the last day. You're going to have the same situation. So when the black man and woman's experience in America mirrors the experience of the Egyptians. So as God visited Egypt, because he heard the moaning and the groaning of the children of Israel, because they had served Pharaoh for 400 years. So God desired or wanted to make a great nation out of them. And so what did he do? He didn't send nobody. He came himself, raised up Moses and told Moses, you tell Pharaoh that I am sending you, and tell him I am that I am. That whole situation, when you read that, that was a sign of what God would do today. This is a modern day Egypt. And we have served our former slave masters for 400 years, and God has come. That is above top secret. Black people don't know God has come. You see, and that he raised up a modern day Moses in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and a modern day Aaron in the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. Moses leaves just as the Moses of yesterday left, goes back and gets juice and gets power to bring down Pharaoh. See, God did not bring Pharaoh down. He raised a slave and gave the slave the power to do it. So the Honorable Minister Farrakhan tells the world that the man that you thought was dead in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad escaped the death plot and now has been given power. see, over his enemies, and he's using Minister Farrakhan as a dare. We got juice, brother. So Farrakhan is daring them to do what they plan on doing, and watch God and his Messiah do what they are going to do. Black people are going to be delivered, brother. We got juice and we got power, and that's what the enemy does not desire, that we know. See, so what they could do is sit on the sideline and watch the greatest show on earth, which is the deliverance of the black man and woman. It don't look like we got any hope, and we are told don't even use no weapons, because God is too cheap for God. God is going to deliver us, brother. You see, and that's going to happen. And I am 100% in agreement, and I'm with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that black people are going to be delivered, brother. You know, or else there is no hope at all. But see, I say to my beloved brother Christian pastors, when they read about the teachings of Jesus, that is referring to a black man that God raised here in America and now has been given power and authority. And now he's called the Son of Man. And Minister Farrakhan is his servant, is the Paul of your scriptures, is the Aaron. And yes, he is a little Jesus and a messenger among us. We're going to be held responsible for our congregation. See, and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan told us, brother, that one day that our people will go up and they will take the life of those of us that are in that pulpit for not telling them the truth and not telling them of the time and what must be done. They will kill the preacher in the pulpit because they said, you got me, you had me here all this time, and you sat, you did nothing. You see, you knew this and you knew what was going to happen, but you were too cowardly, you know, to tell me what was going on. And so this is the dangerous situation that those of us who call ourselves preachers are in today, brother. See, because if you warn the man not, the book says, if you warn him not and he dies, then God will not require that blood, the blood at our hands. But if you warn them not and you continue to go on, they will still die, but God is going to require that blood at our hand. And this is the situation, the dangerous situation that every pastor and preacher is in today. Follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, my parting words is, they called Jesus, you know, that he did his work by the power of the devil. You know, they said that he did his work by the power of Beelzebub. They called Jesus everything but who he was and is, which is the Messiah. So as it was 2,000 years ago, here we are in a modern day Israel. And here you have a man, as the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, that is going about the work of resurrecting, going about the work of guiding, going about the work of warning. How are you viewing him? How are you looking at him? And so I do not want us to pass up this time in looking at the Honorable Minister Farrakhan as some man that is of no consequence. Why don't we study him? And really, most of us know and recognize him to be that truth and that trumpet that is in the midst of us, that is sounding the alarm. And so I appeal to our brothers and sisters to look at the Honorable Minister Farrakhan more closely and to study his words, his aims, and his purposes. And you will know and see and believe that he's a man guided and protected by God himself. And yes, he is the messenger of God in our midst. And he is here not on his own, but sent by God to guide us up out of this hellhole and through this dark hour in which we live. I am his brother and I am his servant, and I just ask you to listen to him